Welcome to the lecture on logical reasoning for CLAT and AILET by M.P. Siddhesh. This is part 1 of the lecture. In this lecture, we have just one learning objective, and that is to be able to solve all the logical reasoning questions appearing in CLAT and AILET exams with confidence. However, I have one disclaimer for you. This video is based on the latest paper pattern for both of the exams, and this video will help you solve all types of logical reasoning questions. However, the paper pattern for both of those exams is subject to change. Therefore, in this video, we shall cover the following topics. Number one, we shall try and understand the differences between the CLAT and the AILET exams pertaining to the topic of logical reasoning. Number two, we shall understand the basic concepts related to logical reasoning. And finally, in this video, we shall deal with the topic of deriving conclusions from passages. Now, let us understand the difference in the CLAT and AILET exams with reference to the topic of logical reasoning. Logical reasoning is an important part of both exams. However, there are differences in the type of questions, the number of questions appearing, and the degree of knowledge and practice required to solve those questions. So, let us look at some of the differences. First and foremost, in the CLAT exams, the logical reasoning part is focused on just one type of question, that is, deriving conclusions from passages. On the other hand, in the AILET, there is a greater variety of questions related to logical reasoning, which we shall discuss in detail in the next part of this lecture. Next, the questions appearing in CLAT are pretty straightforward questions. You have a passage, you are supposed to read it, you are supposed to comprehend it, and answer questions which follow. However, questions appearing in the AILET require some knowledge of the theory behind logical reasoning. The main distinction or the main difference lies in the weightage of marks assigned to logical reasoning in CLAT and AILET exams. In the CLAT exam, logical reasoning carries around 22 to 26 marks, that is about 20% of the total marks. And on the other hand, in case of AILET, logical reasoning carried 70 marks out of 150 in the December 2023 paper. That is, almost half of the paper was based on logical reasoning. Therefore, it will be clear that CLAT and AILET require different levels of knowledge, strategy, and preparation. So, now let us familiarize ourselves with the basic concepts of logical reasoning. Many of the theories of logical reasoning and related concepts like deduction were developed by ancient Greek philosophers like Aristotle and Euclid. Aristotle used logical deductions to develop his scientific theories, and before him, Euclid used science of deduction and logical reasoning to develop geometry. So, where does the word logic come from? What does it mean? The word logic is derived from the Greek word logos, which means thought. Therefore, logical reasoning may be defined as the science of thought with reference to a particular language, which in our case is English. Moving on, let us try and understand certain terms which are used in logical reasoning. So, first of all, a categorical statement is known as a proposition in the language of logical reasoning. But what is a categorical statement? The dictionary meaning of categorical is absolute or without exception. Therefore, in the context of logical reasoning, a categorical statement is a statement which is assumed to be true for the purpose of a particular problem. In mathematical or scientific language, a categorical statement is also known as a postulate. So, a proposition can be further divided into four parts, which are as follows. Number one, the quantifier. Number two, the subject. Number three, the copula. And number four, the predicate. As you can see, this is quite similar to dividing a sentence into subject, verb, and object. For a better understanding of the concept, let us look at a few examples of propositions and how they may be divided into these four parts. The first example is all men are pigs. At this stage, I must mention one important point about solving logical reasoning problems. Please ignore your common sense and general knowledge before you solve logical reasoning problems. Obviously, men are not pigs, they are men. But for the purpose of solving a question, there is absolutely no problem in assuming that all men are indeed pigs. So, all is the quantifier which indicates the quantity, men is the subject, are is the copula or the verb, and pigs is the predicate. Pause this video and read the remaining examples for a better understanding of this concept. Now, let us start with the topic of deriving conclusions from passages. Most of the logical reasoning questions in CLAT are based on deriving conclusions from passages. The passages themselves are extracted out of well-known journals or editorials, and they typically describe some legal, economic, or a socio-political problem. Broadly speaking, just three types of questions have appeared in CLAT exams since 2022 pertaining to logical reasoning. They are: number one, which of the following statements is true or false? Number two, which of the following statements strengthens or weakens the author's argument? And number three, which of the following statements is the author most likely to agree or disagree with? Please note that these questions may be framed differently. For example, instead of asking which of the following is true or false, it may be which of the following can or cannot be inferred from the passage. It is essentially the same question but framed differently. So, in the next few slides, we shall solve two examples from each of these types of questions which have appeared in the CLAT exams since 2022. So, this was a question which appeared in CLAT 2024. Please pause this video and read the whole passage. Now, please take 2 minutes to read the two questions. We shall use the elimination method to solve these two questions. So, in the first question, we are supposed to pinpoint the false statement among the four options with reference to the passage. The first statement is obviously true. The whole extract revolves around the disadvantages of the merit system. The third statement is also obviously true. The passage clearly states that the examination does indeed play an important role in the Indian education system. The same can be said for the fourth option. It has been specifically mentioned in the passage that our education system is tailored to gauge an individual's merit through examinations. That leaves open the second option, which is the correct answer in this case. According to the author, merit should not be a determining factor, but it still is. Therefore, the second statement must be false. Let us deal with the second problem now. We are supposed to pinpoint the correct statement between the four given options. The first statement is obviously false. The passage clearly mentions that there is a stark or a sharp difference between preparing for the board exams and preparing for competitive exams. The second option is also obviously false. The passage clearly mentions that the present education system does not take into account the inherent inequalities. The third statement is also false. Competitive exams lead to social inequality among the students, according to the author's opinion. So that leaves us with the fourth option. The passage clearly mentions that existing inequalities are amplified or enlarged by competitive exams. Therefore, this is the only true statement between the four options, and hence, this is the correct answer. Let us start with the next question. This paragraph appeared in CLAT 2023. Pause this video for 2 minutes and read the problem thoroughly. Now we shall be dealing with the second type of question, that is, which of the following, if true, strengthens or weakens the author's arguments. Please read the two questions and try solving them using the elimination method. You shall find the answers in the next slides. If you have carefully read the passage, I am sure that you must have understood the crux or the essence of the author's arguments. The essence of the author's arguments is that increase in bank rates of developed countries has led to a fall in the value of rupee against the dollar, and that the RBI must take measures to control the same. So, in this type of question, first of all, we have to understand the crux of the author's argument, and then we have to identify the statement which goes against the author's arguments. Because if the statement which goes against the author's arguments is assumed to be true, obviously it would weaken the author's arguments. So, the only statement among the four options which goes against the author's opinion is the fourth option. The author has specifically stated that the Indian economy is not healthy at the moment, and the growth rates and the employment situation is yet to stabilize. This means that the Indian economy is vulnerable according to the author. The fourth statement states the opposite, that is, the Indian economy is insulated and protected, which clearly goes against the author's arguments. Therefore, that is the correct option in this case. The next question is the opposite of the question we saw in the previous slide. In this type of question, again, you are supposed to identify the crux of the author's arguments and find the statements which supports the author's arguments. In this question, the first option is the right one. Options number 2, 3 and 4 are clearly against the author's arguments. Therefore, the first option is the only correct option. For both the questions, I have provided you with the relevant portion of the passage where the answer may be found. Please take 2 minutes to identify the answer on your own from the extract given below. Let us start with the final type of question, that is, which of the following is the author most likely to agree or disagree with? Now, please take 2 minutes to read this very interesting passage which appeared in CLAT 2022. If you read the given question, you will find that there is a small difference in framing of the question. However, it is essentially the same. It asks us to determine what the author is likely to disagree with. In this question, the correct option is the fourth option. The author clearly states that consent of minor girls has no validity. Therefore, the author shall obviously disagree with the fourth option, which says that the consent of minor girls has legal validity. As always, I have annexed the relevant portion of the passage which contains the answer. Please take 2 minutes to read it for a better understanding. Now, let us start with the final solved example. This was a passage which appeared in CLAT 2021. Like always, Pause this video for 2 minutes and read the given paragraph. Again, the question has been framed slightly differently. However, in essence, it is the same. You are asked to determine the option the author is most likely to disagree with. In this problem, the third option is the correct option. The passage clearly mentions that the TRC provided amnesty to the violators of human rights. So, how can the author agree with the statement that the TRC made earnest efforts to protect human rights? He shall definitely disagree with that third statement. Again, take 2 minutes and pause this video to read the relevant portion of the extract which contains the answer. And with that, we have reached the end of our discussion about deriving conclusions from passages. There are a few other types of questions which may show up, but in my opinion, they are pretty straightforward English comprehension type questions which can be solved easily. Now, I am confident that you can solve 98% of the problems on logical reasoning appearing in CLAT exams. In the upcoming part 2 of this lecture, we shall deal with the following topics. Number 1, how to solve syllogisms. Number 2, cause and effect problems. Number 3, deriving assumptions from statements. And finally, number 4, deriving conclusions from statements. This lecture or this part of the lecture was focused on logical reasoning problems appearing in the CLAT exams. The next part will be focused on the type of questions appearing in the AILET exam in the logical reasoning section. Thank you for watching. Please watch upcoming part 2 of this lecture for a complete understanding of this topic. If you like the content, please like and subscribe to this channel. Thank you once again.